Hey there, I got a question for you. How are these two Criterion Collection editions related? How do they connect? What strong connection exists, if any, between these two editions, the Darjeeling Limited and the Apu Trilogy? Wes Anderson, Satyajit Ray. Let's talk about it on the other side of this. Let's go. All right, I hope that you are having a happy 2024. This is my very first video of the new year. As of the time this video is going up, it's the new year. It is early in the morning on Saturday, January the 6th. Yes, January the 6th. I've got to get better about keeping track of dates, but it's early in the morning, Saturday, January the 6th. I just fed my dog Shiloh. He is out there watching television. I think I have him on the USA Network, which they do a marathon of films. Last night he was watching the Dark Knight trilogy, so he's all up to speed on the Dark Knight films. You know, he's only just over a year old, so there's a lot of films he has not seen yet, so he's got a chance to get caught up on the Harry Potter films, the Dark Knight films, so I'm really happy for him in that regard. But what I want to talk about in this video is how the Darjeeling Limited from Wes Anderson, how it was influenced by Satyajit Ray's films. And this is going to be a little bit of a mini review, if you would, of the Darjeeling Limited Criterion Collection edition. This is spine number 540 in the Criterion Collection, and it came out back in 2010. So it came out going on 14 years ago. So this is an edition that's been out from Criterion in quite a while. And it is a fascinating story. It's basically a story about three brothers who are on a bit of a spiritual journey in India as they're on a trip to India. A big piece of this film takes place on a train called the Darjeeling Limited as they're making a trek across India. But then you also see them going through the Indian towns and the Indian countryside as they're on a quest to find themselves and to find their mother and see if they can find their way back to each other as brothers. So it's a really fascinating journey that has some nice family dynamics going on. And I definitely enjoyed this film. Now, this is a film that came out in 2007, comes in at 91 minutes, and this in color. But this edition came out in 2010. I think I picked up the Darjeeling Limited probably 5 years ago. I'm losing track of time, 5 or 6 years ago. So I've had this on my shelf a long time. This is one of my backlogged items that's been on my shelf collecting dust for years. And I said to myself, I need to be better about going through the titles that are currently in my collection. I'm super excited about what's coming out this year, but I need to be just as excited about the titles that are on my shelf that are awesome titles, awesome releases that I have never watched yet. And this is an example of that. This is from the Criterion Collection. On the inside of the case, check out this beautiful art. Isn't that nice? And then check out the front and the back. And then this is like a J card. I'm just now kind of realizing this is a J card, like in the moment on live television, I'm just realizing this is a bit of a J card. You pull that off and you get this. I didn't even know that. But yeah, so on the J card you have, or it's not even a J card, it's just an I card, I'll call it. You have the standard Criterion language there. So let me read the iCard here. I'll call it the iCard. It's called The Darjeeling Limited. In director Wes Anderson's The Darjeeling Limited, three estranged brothers reunite for a meticulously planned, soul-searching train voyage across India 1 year after the death of their father. Armed with 11 suitcases, a laminated itinerary, a can of pepper spray, a supply of over-the-counter painkillers, and a host of family conflicts ready to erupt, Francis, Peter, and Jack eventually find themselves stranded alone in the middle of the desert, at which point an unexpected new chapter in their journey begins, featuring a sensational cast including Owen Wilson, Adrian Brody, Jason Schwartzmann, and Anjelica Huston. The Darjeeling Limited is a dazzling and hilarious film that takes Anderson to deeper places than ever before. And it's aptly described by Criterion as usual. This is a really fascinating film. It's a great character study. So each of these brothers is different. Of course, you have Owen Wilson, who plays the older brother. He's Francis Whitman. Adrian Brody plays Peter Whitman, and Jason Schwartzmann plays Jack Whitman. All of these actors, typical Wes Anderson, have appeared in multiple Wes Anderson films. Of course, Anjelica Huston plays the mother of these three young men. She's on her own spiritual journey. She's a nun in India leading a convent, and they're trying to find her. So Anjelica Huston, of course, starred in The Royal Tenenbaums and other Wes Anderson films as well. So Wes Anderson loves to use a certain group of actors in multiple films. Bill Murray also appears in this film. So you have a fascinating cast that make up this movie, which is the typical Wes Anderson big cast of characters that make for a very compelling story. So the Darjeeling Limited is one I really enjoyed, especially, I love train movies. I have a special place in my heart for train movies, and this fits that bill. Now, the question is, how do these two relate? And I'm going to answer that right now. The one thing I learned in going through this film, The Darjeeling Limited, is just learning the connection and the influence that Satyajit Ray had on Wes Anderson in making this film. The Darjeeling Limited is a bit of a departure from the typical settings that Wes Anderson's films embody. Slightly different setting that's taking place here, and it just puts you in a very different, more realistic place, whereas a lot of Wes Anderson's films may take place in like New York, or it may take place in a certain place, but it's more of a stylized version of that place. In the Darjeeling Limited, you're really getting a pretty real feeling of Indian life in Indian settings. Of course, the train is a bit stylized, but you're getting more of a down-to-earth feel with this film, The Darjeeling Limited, than you get with a lot of Wes Anderson films that are a little bit more on the stylized side of things. The Darjeeling Limited is a little bit more earthy. You really feel like you're in India. You really feel like you're in this time and this place. So it's a little bit different than a lot of Wes Anderson films. And the fact that this film gains a lot of influence from Indian films, from Satyajit Ray, in that Wes Anderson was inspired by Satyajit Ray to bring forward a very realistic, vision of Indian life. And so he worked with Satyajit Ray's son, Sandeep Ray, in the production of this film. So there's some heavy influences of Indian culture, wanting to bring that forward in an authentic way in this film. And that is part of the heavy influence that Wes Anderson drew from Satyajit Ray. The reason why I want to bring this up in this video is simply because the Apu Trilogy has come out on 4K Ultra HD from the Criterion Collection. Now, I have this Blu-ray edition. I have not decided if I'm going to get the 4K edition yet or not. I'm still thinking about it, but this is now out on 4K Ultra HD. This is the Blu-ray edition that came out a good number of years ago. And it is one of the best sets from the Criterion Collection. It is a trilogy of films from Indian director Satyajit Ray that follows the life of this young boy as he grows up to be a teenager and to be a young adult, husband. And you see him starting out as a little boy, and he grows up over the years. Pather Panchali, Aparahito, which is sort of the teenage years, and then Apur Sansar, when he is a young man, married. And you get to see the ups and downs of his life, the highs and the lows, the tragedies, the struggles. This is an absolutely fascinating cinematic journey going through these three films. And the settings of these films is Bengal, India, as you're following the life of this Indian boy throughout a big portion of his life. So just an absolutely fascinating work. These films were saved by the Film Foundation and the Criterion Collection, Martin Scorsese's Film Foundation. The original negatives were destroyed many years ago, but they put forth a yeoman's effort to restore these films and make it possible to see these films on home video. So they did that several years ago. Of course, this was based on 4K digital restorations of all the films, and I believe that 4K restoration is likely what was used for the new 4K edition that has come out. So I wanted to talk about it in how it relates to the Darjeeling Limited. So I'm kind of killing a couple birds with one stone. This has been in my backlog for a long time, so I wanted to watch it. big green check. And I also wanted to draw a comparison, since this is now out on 4K Ultra HD, and say, hey, Wes Anderson drew a lot of his influences in this India set film from Indian director Satyajit Ray. So just thought I would share that. If you do not have the Apu Trilogy yet in your library, I highly, highly recommend picking it up. It is one of the best additions from the Criterion Collection. If you're interested in world cinema, if you're interested in foreign cinema, it's definitely one to consider picking up. Now, the Darjeeling Limited, do I recommend picking up this title? Well, I will say that this edition overall is a very strong edition. The film is really good. This Blu-ray from 2010 holds up pretty well. It is at the time, it was based on a new high definition digital transfer. So you're getting a nice Blu-ray picture here, but it's from a Blu-ray from 2010. So it's a little bit, older when the format was still fairly new, but it's still a very nice looking Blu-ray. I can imagine that a new 4K digital restoration, if they ever put this film out on 4K, would probably look quite nice and really bring those Indian settings to life. So given that this title came out in 2010, there would probably be a concern, hey, would they upgrade this? Who knows? We have not yet seen any of Wes Anderson's films get the Criterion 4K upgrade treatment yet. So who knows if this might be one that they're thinking about. I don't know for sure, but if you're not worried about that and you just want to pick up a nice Wes Anderson film from Criterion that you don't already have, I can definitely recommend this on the strength of the film. It looks nice on Blu-ray, and the special features are also very nice. You get an audio commentary that features Wes Anderson and co-writers Jason Schwartzmann and Roman Coppola. You get a behind-the-scenes documentary. You get a discussion between Anderson and James Ivory, the filmmaker, on the music used in the film. You get a very interesting Anderson's American Express commercial, which is really fascinating how he shot this American Express commercial, basically on set, going from one set piece to another. You see Wes Anderson moving through the scene. It's very, very well done. You get on-set footage shot by Coppola and actor Waris Walia, and you get a video essay by film writer Matt Zoller. You get audition footage, deleted and alternate scenes, and of course you get this nice little fold out here. This is the writing on the suitcase. You get information about the transfer and some nice art in here. They do a really nice job with these Wes Anderson releases. Information on the cast, which is cool. Credits. So you get a really nice fold out overall that includes an essay, Voyage to India by Richard Brody, which is very good. So you get this really long fold out, folks. But this is the essay, Voyage to India by Richard Brody. But yeah, check out this nice fold out. Very nice, colorful fold out from Criterion, which is typical of the whimsical nature of Wes Anderson films. You'll see that on the Wes Anderson films, they do a really nice job of putting a lot of love into these titles, whether it's the Grand Budapest Hotel or the Royal Tenenbaums or the Darjeeling Limited, Moonrise Kingdom, you name it. They do a really nice job with these Wes Anderson films. Of course, Wes Anderson has done some pretty interesting recent films. Of course, this one here is not in the collection yet, Isle of Dogs, which is a pretty good one, not my favorite of his. The French Dispatch, which I enjoyed upon a second viewing. This is put out by Disney. Don't know if this will come to the collection or not. And then I still need to see Asteroid City. So these are some of his newer films that I still need to see. But yeah, definitely check out the Darjeeling Limited. Check out the Apu Trilogy. There's some connections there between the influences that Satyajit Ray's films have had on Wes Anderson that you'll want to avail yourself of. Satyajit Ray also did The Hero, which is a neat film. This is another train movie. It's about an actor who is making a train journey across India to get ready for an interview, I think. But it's a really, really fascinating film. He's being interviewed by this woman here, and he just talks about his life and his experiences, and you learn more about this actor and his journey of his life. So Another fascinating train movie. So that's another film from Satyajit Ray, but the Darjeeling Limited comes highly, highly recommended. If you're not afraid of whether or not a 4K upgrade is going to come, who knows if that's going to happen or not. If you're interested in checking out this title, I would say to go ahead and just consider getting it. And if it does get a 4K upgrade, well, then you can always put this on Facebook Marketplace or sell it or just do the upgrade. So anyway, the Darjeeling Limited comes highly recommended. But let me know in the comment section below, what do you think of this film? If you've seen it, what do you think of Wes Anderson films? What are some of your favorite films from Wes Anderson? And would you recommend the Darjeeling Limited? Where does the Darjeeling Limited fit in Wes Anderson's filmography for you? Let me know that in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time at the movies. Peace.